Emmanuel Macron announced this International Women's Day that the right to an abortion will soon be set in stone in the French constitution. In a speech paying tribute to the late Gisele Halimi, a feminist activist and pioneer of reproductive rights in France, Macron said an amendment to the constitution will be submitted to Parliament. The French president is seeking to avoid any future politicisation of the issue, as we've seen in the United States under the last president and the US Supreme Court overturning a woman's right to choose.
Today, I want the strength of this message to help us change our constitution. This will enshrine the freedom of women to choose abortion and to be a solemn guarantee that nothing can ever limit or abolish this right, because it will have become irreversible.
President Macron there with his announcement earlier. Let's bring in Fabienne el-Khoury, spokesperson for the group Osez, le Féminisme, or Dare to be Feminist. Fabienne, thanks for being with us. I'm wondering what you think about this announcement from the French president. What do you think about Macron's words?
It's been years that we are trying and demanding that abortion rights gets in the constitution. So we think it's a victory because it's a feminist demand. But we still have a small question because we want the right to abortion to be in the constitution and not just the liberty or the freedom for abortion. The difference is very important because if there's the right to abortion is in the constitution, it gives more rights because then the government will have to make it a service, whereas if it's just a freedom for abortion, then it implicates that the government will have less the need to provide the service. It will be less powerful than just the right for abortion in the Constitution.
It is a massive issue. There's no getting away from that. And it is right. I think most right-thinking people or liberal-thinking people would say, yes, it is right that a woman has the right to choose because it's her body after all. It's nothing to do with a man.
Yeah, and even today in France, where it's not really a very feminist society, where a lot of people say, okay, feminists exaggerate, but even in France, 80% of French people agree that it's a right, that the women can choose what they want to do with their body, and they shouldn't be forced to be pregnant while they don't want to be pregnant.
Indeed, and that I think anybody who is right-thinking would say that is the case. However, we saw in the United States, because it wasn't enshrined in the Constitution, the Supreme Court, which is politicized, leaning towards the Republicans, and of course it was a political issue, were able to overturn that right. So do you acknowledge that President Macron is doing something correct, doing the right thing in what he is trying to do?
Yes, and again, this is a demand that we've been demanding for years, because we also are afraid that whenever the extreme right is in power, they will always try to attack this right, even if in the States, the majority of people in the States are for abortion rights. But because of Supreme Court that is politicized, they are attacking this right. So yeah, it is a very good move because, and we hope that it will send a powerful signal to all countries that it should be enshrined, because it only takes a small crisis, it only takes the extreme right in power to attack this fundamental but very fragile right.
So that is fundamental, and a fragile right want to be protected. I think we agree on that one completely. Let's talk about other issues regarding France and feminism and France and women, because you said just a few moments ago that France has a long way to go in terms of changing how women are treated, changing how seriously women are taken. If you look at, say, the number of female leaders in business, in industry, it is few, isn't it? It could be better. It could be more.
Exactly, and this is we were trying to talk about this exactly today. Is that if you look at, for example, the National Assembly or the deputies, if you look at the number of mayors, if you look even at like the top 10 YouTube influencers in France, or even the top 15 universities and the sex of the president, most of instances where there's power, it's mostly men. And women are really minority where there is where there's instances where there's decision that can affect us. So yeah, inequality is very persistent in France. We see this on all levels, and not just for example people who makes the decision, but also for violence against women is very prevalent, and also our society is a bit is a bit less progressive or less feminist in some issues. And we see today we live in a country where the interior minister is a man accused of rape. So we need a bit more to progress on all fronts.
Indeed, and I think most people would agree with you on that one, Fabienne. Violence against women is certainly one thing that needs to be cracked down upon. We'll be looking at that in other countries coming up. Fabienne el-Khoury of Osez, le Féminisme, thank you very much indeed for joining us here in France 24. We appreciate your time. As I say, we'll have more on International Women's Day as we go through the programme between now and beyond midnight Paris time. Fabienne, once again, thank you very much for joining us.